Let's go next to Kevin from Virginia. Kevin from Virginia, you're on the air.
Hello, David.
Hello.
I realize this is kind of old news at this point, but I've been trying to call in the last couple of weeks. I want to talk about permanent daylight saving time.
Okay.
Because I am on the side of permanent standard time. And
Mm,
I could go on a diatribe of I personally think it's better, but I think my best argument on the subject is more of a historical one.
hmm.
So my framing of this issue is, if we are going to go to permanent daylight saving time, what we're really doing is we're changing our time zones by one time zone. And you're kind of saying, if you want to go to permanent daylight saving time, you're saying we got it wrong when we established the time zones in the late 1800s, or you think society has changed fundamentally in that last 150 or so years, that we all benefit from shifting our schedules by 1 hour.
Sure.
And I just I don't think that's accurate. I think there was a lot of thought put into the time zones when they were established, and it lined up with solar time that we used for millennia. I don't think we should change that.
So listen, I think that actually society has changed dramatically since the time zones were established by virtue of completely ubiquitous electricity and artificial lighting. I think that it has changed. Now, that's not reason alone to say let's do permanent daylight saving. Now, I lean towards permanent daylight saving. You know why? Because I don't get up early enough to care about it being dark in the morning, and I get a lot of benefit from it being light out an additional hour in winter. In the Northeast, in middle of December, it's ugly. It's depressing what goes on in the Northeast. Now, that being said, I am sensitive to the fact that, if you look at the western edge of certain time zones, like for example, if you look at Columbus, Ohio, is an interesting place. In Columbus, Ohio, they're on the western edge of the eastern time zone. If we were to do permanent daylight saving time, if I understand correctly, in December, sunrise would be something like 8:20 in Columbus. I looked it up at one point. I don't exactly remember. I agree that that's kind of complicated. That's not so good. So another idea I heard was split the difference, make a 30-minute adjustment and make that permanent. The problem is that then the difference between our time zones and those in other parts of the world are going to be, 6.5 hours, 8.5 hours, which is just very complicated. So I don't know that there's a perfect solution. I hate what we do now, and I lean towards permanent daylight saving time.
I also hate what we do now.
Yeah.
I think we need to be taking a hard look at schedule of the business day, the schedule of schools. There's been a lot written about school starting too early and the health impacts that has on our children. I feel
Absolutely.
like going with permanent daylight saving time, we're kind of sidestepping the real issue. But
Yeah,
I'll
there's
be
another
curious to
issue
see
also, which is there are other countries where it's much more typical that the business and work day starts at either 9:30 or 10 and goes till more like 6 or 7. And then like in a lot of places in Europe, you leave work at 7 and then you go right to drinks and then a later dinner. Like when I was in Spain, now Spain maintains the siesta for a lot of workers. You open the store at 10 and then you're off from 1 to 3 and then you're open from 3 to 7 and at 7 you go for a drink and at 9:30 you have dinner, and it's just a totally different lifestyle. Now culturally, I don't know that that'll work in the US, but there's many other configurations of the daily schedule that could work.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you talking to me about this. I'll be curious to see if it does get enacted permanently.
Yeah.
Do you still like it after your first winter going through it? Because right now, we know what standard time is like in the winter, and we have some issues with that. But unless we can remember back to 1974, we don't really know what the mornings are like, winter with DST. And I think people are.
I'll sleep through
gonna
it, so I
realize
just
they
won't
don't
know.
know.
I mean, I'll be fine.
All right.
All right, Kevin, thank you. I do care about that topic, actually. I find it pretty interesting. One of our sponsors is called Privacy. Privacy is a totally free service that I've been using for years. Privacy lets me create virtual payment cards with one click, and when I use the virtual card, the money is taken out of my bank account. You can create multiple cards, delete them, freeze them, set a spending limit on them. Let's say I'm signing up for a free trial and it requires a credit card. Privacy will autofill a virtual card number, and then after signing up, I can delete that virtual card. So I know I'm not going to be charged again. Something really useful and very practical. Or let's say I'm ordering food over the phone, but I left my wallet somewhere. I don't have my real credit card on me. I can use a virtual card on my Privacy mobile app. But really the best part is you're not out there exposing your real credit card number, so you're not as susceptible to data breaches and identity theft. Privacy is a totally free service, and you'll get $5 to spend when you go to privacy.com/Pacman. The link is right underneath this video.